I'm from South Africa. I was born there. My mother is Arabian and my father is Irish English. I was brought up in South Africa. I never felt that I fitted in. And when I was 28 years old, I moved here with my darling, wonderful husband, who basically helped me build my business, which was aesthetics and physiatrics. And that is in the beauty industry, everything you can think of in the beauty industry, from lecturing, having our own school, having a mobile beauty salon, as well as a beauty salon. I have 30 years experience in the aesthetician world and the physiatrics world, and also lecturing in that, along with being a philanthropist.
Feel your way to success. Welcome to another inspiring episode of Podcast with SHEILA, the podcast that is spreading positivity around the world by sharing inspiring life experiences. Today's guest, Tanya Carr, is the founder of Champagne Life Coaching, a professional coach for high-powered women. She has all the experience and tools needed to create the life you have always imagined. In this episode, Tanya will be sharing insights about her life and what led her to pursue a career in coaching. We will touch on her work journey, and we promise to glean some success tips from her before we draw the curtain to a close. So listen to the end and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done that already. Hello, Tanya, and welcome to Podcast with SHEILA.
SHEILA, thank you so much. I'm really privileged to be on your podcast because I know you have such a big queue waiting to be on your podcast, and I really appreciate the invite.
It's a delight to host you. I think I've seen a synopsis of the story you're going to share today, and I'm particularly excited about it. You know, anytime somebody takes an experience they've been through, you know, quite painful experience they've been through, and turn it around into something positive, for me, I think it is something we have to celebrate, because it's not always easy to go through some of these challenges and come out whole, let alone turn it around into something positive. So I'm excited about what we're going to share today. But before we kick the ball rolling, in a nutshell, who is Tanya? Where does she come from? The basic information before we get it off.
Oh, thank you for asking. I'm from South Africa. I was born there. My mother is Arabian and my father is Irish English. I was brought up in South Africa. I never felt that I fitted in. And when I was 28 years old, I moved here with my darling, wonderful husband, who basically helped me build my business, which was aesthetics and physiatrics. And that is in the beauty industry, everything you can think of in the beauty industry, from lecturing, having our own school, having a mobile beauty salon, as well as a beauty salon. So to cut it short, I have 30 years experience in the aesthetician world and the physiatrics world, and also lecturing in that, along with being a philanthropist along the way. And this is what brought me to where I am right now, is my foundation of being a beauty therapist and teaching. And then, of course, as you said earlier in your introduction, I had to turn the negative.
No, before we go there, I'm excited about that one. But before we go there, I just caught something as you were talking. You said you never felt like you fitted in. Why did?
Yes, I was born. Well, because of my culture, I wasn't a purebred Afrikaans, white, English, South African girl.
Yeah.
I had mixed culture, and so I was called a mongrel. And I was treated and bullied in such a way, and so I felt that I just wasn't able to feel at home, and I knew there was another calling.
Yeah. Now let's go on to your story proper. So you had gone through a phase in your life that led you into coaching. Talk to us about the phase. What happened, how you were able to pick yourself out of that, and what you were able to make out of the experience.
Yeah, in brief, 2018, on the 19th of December, my husband was rushed to hospital with a hemorrhage, where he, within 24 hours, passed away. Because they couldn't understand what happened, the uncertainty of the circumstances. It wasn't a simple death, it wasn't a simple burial, and it wasn't a simple journey because of the circumstances. There had to be an investigation, an inquest. His body was taken to Cardiff, and a coroner from Scotland Yard did his investigations. And so 4 weeks after he passed away, I was able to bury him. Along with this, financially, assets were frozen. My whole life was pulled from under me because of the investigation, because of the tightness of the grieving and the money. I lost my home. I became homeless for a while. And along with this, the dynamics of people's reaction to myself changed. And unfortunately, friends proved who they really were. Whether they did it from a point of view of not knowing how to handle the situation or help, I don't know. I can't judge, but I can only tell you the facts. And the facts are, and from a grieving point of view, I was very alone and isolated. So 2019, I was trying to find a home, trying to move, trying to grieve, going through the investigation, and, the hearings and stuff like that. And then 2020, who can't forget 2020? So I moved into my new small, tiny little flat and January, and then I went and opened a new salon in February, which was going to be launched in April. And guess what happened between February and April?
Yeah, COVID.
Yes. So between Don, losing my husband, the investigation, financially tight, homeless, moving, COVID, isolation, losing friends, being in this country by myself, without family, my family's all in South Africa. What more can I say to you?
Yeah. Wow, Tanya, that I can just imagine, because some of the things you've mentioned, I've been through a few. Obviously, we all experienced COVID. That alone wasn't an easy thing to go through. COVID alone and being alone wasn't easy. And at the time COVID came, you were grieving, so that will make it extra difficult for you. Aside that, with all your friends not being there for you. Just today, I was talking to somebody about friends and about human beings and the fact that you can never ever understand the way we operate as human beings. It's difficult. We can never wrap our head around it the way we are as human beings. But then I believe that is what makes us human beings. It shows that we are not perfect. You get it? But the good thing is for us to realize when we make our mistakes and correct them. Obviously, we'll make mistakes as human beings, but for us to accept when we make our mistakes, realize, and then correct them, that's the good thing that we can. But as human beings, as it is, we would continue to make mistakes for us to only learn. That is why we have the podcast, to share some of these things, because sometimes people do things and they don't even know the effect it will have on the other person. So when somebody listens to some of these things, and then we'll be able to resonate with some of the things we've shared, and we'll say, oh, so does that mean when I did this to the other lady, was that how she felt? Was that the impact? And maybe from there be able to change the way we do things. So I'm excited we shared this. But how were you able to pick yourself up? Because this looks like a huge thing you've been in. How were you able to pick up yourself from everything you've shared with us to now coaching people? And not just people, you coach high-powered women. And I'll be asking you why high-powered women. But before that, how were you able to bring yourself to this point of coaching others?
So, with human beings, we have simple needs and we have fundamental needs and we have complex needs.
Exactly.
And we need water to survive, we need air to survive, and we need food. So I had that. I had all of that through COVID.
Yeah.
And I just thought, if I hang on tight to those 3 needs and appreciate them. And so I started drinking more water.
Okay.
And started feeling better. I started breathing deeply and developed, which I'll show you later, and I'd love you to do this with me in the audience, called the ballerina breathe.
Oh, okay.
And I owe the name to my wonderful friend, Dr. Hind Boher. And so those are the 3 basic needs. And then we've got the need for love. We've got the need for growth.
Yeah.
We've got the need to be significant. We've got the need to connect. We've got the need for certainty and uncertainty. And so they each have different degrees. And so Champagne Life Coaching, which is represented of celebration, I decided that I'm either going to face the darkness or I'm going to face the light. And just decided to face the light. And I thought, how am I going to do this? So every day I started recording. How to fulfill those needs: certainty, uncertainty, connection, significance, growth, love. And then I found that there was 2 others that we needed as well. Now, I know Tony Robbins mentions the 6 I've mentioned to you, but I'd like to add 2 others, and that is the ability to have free will, autonomy. Throughout history, everybody's fighting for the will to use their own rights and to make their own decisions. Autonomy. Whether you're in the family, whether you're in the business, whether you're in government, wherever you are, we're looking for autonomy. And so there's this high priority is autonomy, and that is to exercise our right to free will. And then the other need that we have is to find meaning in life, and to find the purpose of why we're here. And so, of course, many people have crossed seas, fought wars, sacrificed their life for those 2 things. And then on an individual basis, going through what I was going through, COVID, the indignity of going through a hearing, you just need to find a way to express your autonomy, your free will. And I thought, well, you can either come across as aggressive or you can come across as celebrating. And then I thought deeply about the word celebrate. And when you look at celebrate, it has a deep root of gratitude. Anybody who's celebrating anything is deeply grateful for whatever. If they succeeded or if they're celebrating something, an occasion, a wedding, whatever it is, it's grateful. It's gratitude. And so I thought, if I start every day recording the gratitude of certainty. There's certainty that the sun's going to come up tomorrow. There's certainty that COVID is going to be tomorrow. That's when I was living in it. The uncertainty is that we don't know where we were going. We didn't know if we were going to come out of it. And I just thought, find gratitude in that. And I started recording how to find gratitude in the negative things of life. And the funny thing about that was, for example, how do you celebrate or find gratitude in the death of your husband? How do you find gratitude and celebrate the fact that people are suffering during COVID? And so this started to perplex me, and I thought, can you really find gratitude and celebrate in these terrible times? And then I thought, well, it's obviously terrible that Don's died. It's terrible what's happening to me. But what would he want? for me. What would I have to believe in order to feel better? What would I have to believe in order to make myself happier? And so I started asking myself deep questions and answering them. What would I have to believe in order to succeed? What is more empowering than feeling negative and listening to all the negativity? And so questions started coming. And when I started to write down the questions to all these things, I didn't know at that stage that I was developing a module called Celebrate, which Celebrate is a framework and each letter is a module. So with all this information and answering all these questions, I had books and books of records of how to live every day through uncertainty, negativity, feeling scared, feeling alone, feeling lonely, and facing all the things that you don't want to face.
Yeah.
And then I got a coach the beginning of this year, and my coach helped me take all those records and put it into a framework called Celebrate. And each letter stands for a pillar, and each pillar has support units and tools. So, for example, the C in Celebrate stands for champagne. And then the first three letters of champagne stands for credibility, honesty, and affinity, which I'll go back to later and show you how I use those three things to get me through uncertainty and certainty, and to grow and to be more loving towards myself and others. And that's how Champagne Life Coaching was born. I don't teach you how to drink champagne or encourage you to get drunk on champagne, but it's a symbol for celebrating all the good and bad in our lives and turning opportunity into rewards and success.
A few things kept coming into my head, and it's like I've heard it a number of times, and I've read it from places that our body is made up of nerves, and those nerves are very responsive. And sometimes when we wake up and unconsciously, we say things and not even take them deep, like, I'm really tired. We just say like we've thrown it off like that. I'm tired. I don't feel myself today. I'm not in the mood. Negative words like that. And then our nerves pick them up. Oh, that's what she's saying. She's tired. And then your nerves start working towards tiredness. So your day has already started off on a bad note. It's just like putting negative words out there which are becoming effective, unconsciously becoming effective and making you feel the way you said you feel. So it's like we are what we say we are. So if you say you're happy, you'll be happy. If you say you're sad, you'll be sad. That is why sometimes when we say negative things, when we are going through a lot, so I always say, when you are going through so much and you don't have anything to say, just praise. For me, I'll just praise, or I'll just have a song and dance to it, rather than saying, I feel like killing myself. I'm too tired. I want to give up. Words like that. I'll hardly want to say that. Rather, I'll play a positive, inspiring song to lift me up, and as you were talking, that kept coming to me as a way of turning something around positively. So I wanted to chip this in as you were talking, because I felt that was coming up. So like positive affirmation to ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah, it goes a long way to turn things around. But why high-powered women? And why do you work with only women? Because everybody goes through something and everybody needs to be helped. So why did you choose to only offer your service to high-powered women or women?
Very good question. Yeah. And I'm going to be delighted to answer that. First of all, during this COVID isolation grieving period, I realized for the first time in my life that because I opted out of not having children in the beginning of my career.
Yeah.
And then as my career went on, and I was heading towards I was heading towards 40. We tried IVF, but that did not work. So I sit without children. I'm middle-aged. I have no children. I have no grandchildren. And I thought to myself, well, am I the only woman out there who had sacrificed 30 years of my life from leaving school, and then all of a sudden you realize you want children, and then you can't have children? So I started doing research, and the research was phenomenal that I was not alone. There's a lot of women who studied law to be doctors, to be executives, CEOs, and of big companies. And they went to university, spent years in university. Then they went to get a job, and the first thing that was said to them was, do you have children? No. Okay, tick. Are you planning on having children? No, tick. Okay, you can come and join the company. So that was, 25 years ago. That's not like it is today, of course. So from people from my generation that are now sitting in their late 40s and 50s, we couldn't have children at work because you couldn't get a good job. You wouldn't be employed. So there was a lot of women fitting into the bracket who were able to juggle work, executive directing, CEOs, and have children and a husband, and make a success of it. But very few and far between, because the majority of them was sitting where I am. You reach 50, you look around, you've worked hard all your life, and for a woman you had to work harder.
Of course.
I'm sorry to say, not being biased, but it's true. And even harder for a black woman, isn't it? Your woman is black. So the research was phenomenal, and so I thought, well, there are unsung heroes. Nobody's talking about these women who've sacrificed 25 years of their life sitting alone, no husband, no children. Women like me. And so I thought, let me build my experience and what I've gone through and got through around these women. And so that's why I chose high-powered women, because I kind of have a lot in common with them. And why women only? Let's be honest, ladies, when you reach 40, 45, we start going in what they call perimenopause. And whether we like it or whether we don't like it, it starts to affect our work, our emotions, how we feel, how we go along, the aches, the pains. Everybody's experiencing it differently. And last year there was a big thing about, especially in the UK, on helping women go through menopause. But not many women had that before. So obviously myself fitting into that section of my life, which I'm proud of, which I'm going to embrace, I felt as a woman helping other women, I could help them with their hormones, because I'm in the beauty, aesthetics, physiatrics, reflexology, aromatherapy side, and all the natural and holistic side, using that to back up our hormones at different times of our cycle and different times of the perimenopause or menopause, that would infuse into their work along with the Celebrate formula. May I give you an example? Okay, so there are two main hormones that women have, and that's estrogen and progesterone. Yes, we have testosterone and other hormones, but on the whole, the biggest hormones that we have running through our body is estrogen and progesterone. And oxytocin.
Mm.
Okay, so they all have a role to play. But of course, when you start going into perimenopause, these hormones start to fluctuate at different levels, which can have an influence on our mood, can have an influence on our work, can influence how we feel and how we react to people. So progesterone is the nurturing hormone. It's the unconditional hormone that, because when you think of a woman, she needs progesterone to fall pregnant, and then that nurtures the baby, and that nurturing helps the baby to grow, and it's unconditional. I mean, you're housing this baby for 9 months. It's unconditional love. No rent is paid. You know. And so if that hormone is high, she goes to work in a very feminine state. But because she's got so much stress, she starts to build adrenaline and testosterone, which starts to lower those hormones. So you cannot have a high testosterone-driven woman accomplishing things if her progesterone and her estrogen is high. You can't. She has to have testosterone, which puts her into a state of drive. But if she lives in her testosterone day after day, 20 years, it causes infertility.
Exactly, because I nearly asked you, testosterone is more in the men than in women, isn't it? That is why women who are highly driven don't have the mindset of, I don't want to say settle down, because most highly driven women are settled down, but don't want to have a family. Or even if they want to have a family, they don't want a big family. You see them have just one child, maximum 2. They don't want to have, because the mindset is, and I get where you're coming from. I remember when I came out of uni, I went to do my national service, and as I was leaving, my whole mindset was to go and do my masters, and the thing was to get my transcripts and my reference letters as I was leaving, so that I don't have to come back to campus and then they'll have to go and look for your file. It's a long process. So just when I ended my national service, back home we would call it national service, I ended 7 as a kind of junior lecturer. I went to get it, and I remember one of my senior lecturers as a woman said, "What are you looking for your transcripts and your reference letters for? Go and get married and start having a family. That is why you all of you don't want to marry." She talks like that, and I laughed and laughed and laughed. But my whole mindset at the time was either to go and do my masters or start a business of my own. Seriously, getting married was not on my list. It wasn't. And at the time, whether I got married or didn't get married, whether I had children, it wasn't a big deal. Like, it wasn't on the top of my list at the time. But, fortunately or unfortunately, that all of those plans didn't come for me. Going off to do my masters or starting a business, all of that was so tiring and difficult for me. I was still pursuing it, but it was difficult. And I was growing and growing. So I met my husband when I was 31. Then at 32, I had my son. So I was thinking, no, okay, at this point, I think I have to look at marriage first. You see, it just switched for me. But if work had come through for me the way I wanted, I don't think I'll be having children. I don't know, probably by now I wouldn't even have children, because once you start having, I'll call them babies, like having a job, which is like a baby, you want to develop it, nurture it, and see it become fruitful. And you don't have time for having a baby, like a proper baby, because you already have a baby you are nurturing, which is your job, and you cannot make room for another human being, which is now proper baby. So I get where you're coming from, and from what you're saying, as you keep building your career up or your business up, your testosterone keeps building up, and that drives you to keep pursuing your career or your goal. And in the end, if you are not careful, you would not have children, because your whole mindset is switched towards. And I like the way that the conversation has gone. At this point, what advice will you give to anybody listening to us who is goal driven? We are not saying don't pursue your goals, but who is goal driven? What can we say? Should they draw the balance?
Yeah, that's why you see that my motto is to accelerate growth through feminine insight of strength.
Yeah.
Did you notice I didn't say feminine energy?
Yeah. I was going to ask you what exactly you meant by feminine insight, but since you're talking about, let's talk about it now.
Great, lovely. So insight basically comes from the root word to look in.
Yeah.
To have the eye within.
Yeah.
Female eye within.
Yeah.
So if you are aware of when your testosterone is going up and how it feels, when you're aware if you're aware of how to use breathing, drinking of water and food and certain qualities that build progesterone and estrogen, that insight will help you handle creativity and innovation, because you see the juxtaposition here and the contradiction is that male energy is to drive, to move forward, to be focused.
Yeah.
Female energy is to flow, to create, and to innovate. So when a woman is in an executive position, she has to do both of those things. As an executive director, she needs to be able to direct, she needs to be able to focus, she needs to be goal-oriented, she needs to be mission, obliged, and she also needs to be team-oriented, but then she needs to build the dream. She needs to build the dream of the company, the product, the service.
Yeah.
So she needs, like you say, synchronization, harmony, equity of those two hormones, and that's where Celebrate comes in, and especially the first three letters of Champagne, which supports C in Celebrate, and that is credibility, honesty, and affinity. And so in short, credibility with herself, not just what other people find credible about her. She has to look inside and be credible with herself. In other words, she's able to build up a testimonial within herself that she knows when she's being too male. She knows how to come into her female and go out, come into her male and go out. She knows how to use it. And this is the problem. You asked what advice do I have for women. The advice that I have is to be able to learn how to use your different energies at different particular times, and also to maximize when you are ovulating. Because when you are ovulating, you can create more, because your your estrogen is so high, and when a woman's estrogen is high, her energy to create is very high, because at that point in time she should be conceiving. But you can't conceive every month for the rest of your life. So there must be a reason why we weren't created that only one time during the year, like some animals, are ready to conceive. We have this creative energy every single month, and to maximize that, to maximize when you are more creative, and to set your diary in line, if possible, with tasks that need creativity during those times. And then when you need to nurture your team, because the first part of the month, you are not as nurturing as you are when you just finished ovulation, because you are higher in progesterone, and then you can nurture, you can have this unconditional giving, and that's when you can nurture your team. So set your team building and your team nurturing as an executive the second part of your cycle, because you'll be more able to do it. So you'll be working in line with your hormones. You'll have this feminine insight, and that's basically what I teach women. And that's why I'm not biased against men. I get a lot of men wanting to be coached by me, and I'm happy to do it. And I might just open that avenue up in the future. But right now, I just think I need to stay true and loyal to these amazing unsung heroes, the executive directors, CEOs, founders, women who need special care and love from my coaching. And then we celebrate. Exactly.
Wow. Now, how can we make our fears fear us? When I read it sounded good in my ears because I like the rhyme in there. But then I sat and I thought of it. I said, wow, this is deep. To make your fear you so deep. How can we do that?
Right. So all my life, I feared losing my husband. I married him when I was 20. I feared losing him. I feared ever going to court, being ever convicted or ever accused of anything horrible. I was always a goody two-shoes. I loved obeying the rules. I feared being alone. I feared not having friends. And boom, within a period of 2-3 years, I had all my fears hitting me one, not one here and one there, all of them all at once. And so I developed that formula, obviously with the God-given brain that I've got. I don't take all the credit. That the F stands for, first of all, face it. Don't run away, face it. Then the E stands for embrace the message. So for example, if you fear death like I did, I feared my husband dying, the message is that you fear being alone. I feared the loneliness. What's the message? The message is to find ways to not be lonely. I feared losing friends. The message was learn to be your own friend.
Exactly. I like that one.
So embrace the message, because with each fear there's a message. So it's face the fear, think of what the message is and embrace it, and then acceptance. Accepting that fear is where you need to be. In other words, it's your guide. It's a messenger, it's a counselor, it's on your side. And then lastly, the R is to reconnect with yourself, to relive a life that you deserve, and just to be reborn in whatever you need to be reborn in. So if you follow those 4 steps, and we show you with tools how to go through each step, at the end of the day, the fear fears you. You make the fear fear you, in the sense that the fear runs away from you, and it's no more fear. So I don't fear being alone, because I've learned to live alone. I've learned to love myself more and be my own friend. I don't need friends. It'll be nice if they are my friends. I'm happy without them, but I'm happier with them. I've learned that you don't need a man in your life, but it would be great if there was a loving companion. But I've learned to embrace all the messages and to live a life where I'm more fulfilled, more happier, able to face anything. And I use that as my measuring line. When I fear something, I go, okay, right, so it's FEAR. Find out where you are, what you're doing, what's going on here. Embrace the message, accept that it's your guide, and start to relive a proper life. Because when you fear something, you're living either in the past or you're living in the maybe of what will be the future. You're not living in the now. And you're missing out on the now.
In a few weeks, the time really flies. In a few weeks, we'll be crossing over to 2023. I want to ask you, from the beginning of the year, all the things you wanted to accomplish, were you able to accomplish them? And if you were, what was your greatest achievement?
Oh my word, this has been the best year of my entire life.
Wow.
I've accomplished more than I ever thought I would. First of all, the beginning of the year, I hired a coach.
Okay.
I really, you cannot go in this world today without a coach or a mentor. So I hired a coach and had a mentor, and it literally changed my life. The ability to accomplish things. My business went online. My business went worldwide. I've met the most amazing people. I've met celebrities.
Wow.
I've coached celebrities. I've also been in the presence of pageant winners. It's just been amazing. And the biggest achievement for me is not about the money, it's not about the success, it's not about the status, but it was the ability to make a better friend with me. I didn't realize how much I didn't love myself, care for myself, believe in myself. And I learned that everything physical can be taken away from you. Your physical person that you love, the physical house, the physical, everything physical can be taken away. Isolation, everything. But who can take away your heart?
No one.
Who can take away your mind? So everybody out there is all about investing in money and stuff. Fine, I don't say anything bad about that because I do it myself, but invest more in your heart and your mind, because at the end of the day, if we lose the economy, we lose stability worldwide, you still have this.
You still have that.
You still have that.
If you had one word for our audience, what would that be?
Celebrate.
Celebrate. Good. And I totally agree with you. Celebrate. Every step of the way, celebrate, because life is short, isn't it? So celebrate. We would like to say a massive thank you, Tanya, for coming on Podcast with SHEILA today.
SHEILA, I've thoroughly enjoyed, but more important, I think the audience will benefit from this, and please, let's broadcast the message that women need feminine insight and the balance between male and female in their jobs to be healthy, to project well-being, and to leave a legacy behind them.
Exactly. I totally agree with you. Women need to leave legacies behind them. If you've been listening in, this is season 2, episode 71 of our podcast series, where we've been bringing seasoned guests with inspiring real life stories to share with us. Do not miss out on all these lovely experiences. Subscribe and be notified when a new episode is released. Whilst at it, please drop us a rating. We have a video presentation of this episode on our YouTube channel. Just search for Podcast with SHEILA on YouTube and you'd find us. Our prayer for you this week is that you discover a way to make your fears fear you. See you at the top. Until we meet again, have a brilliant week.